A few bikers mess with the wrong female Navy SEAL. The neon sign of Gracie's Diner flickered against the dark backdrop of the highway. Inside, the hum of conversation mingled with the clatter of dishes. It was a quiet evening, the kind Anna Harper preferred. She sat at the counter, dressed in a simple leather jacket and jeans, sipping a black coffee that had long gone cold. Her long auburn hair was pulled into a neat ponytail, and her piercing green eyes scanned the room out of habit. Years in the Navy SEALs had taught her to always remain vigilant. Even in places as mundane as a roadside diner, Anna had been in this town for 2 months, keeping a low profile. After leaving the military, she'd struggled to find her footing, haunted by the ghosts of missions gone wrong. This quiet little town was supposed to be her sanctuary, a place to start over. But the faint scars on her hands and the instinctive way she moved told a different story, one she couldn't leave behind entirely. The doors swung open with a bang, shattering the diner's tranquility. A group of 5 bikers strode in, their heavy boots thudding against the tiled floor. They wore black leather jackets adorned with the emblem of a snake wrapped around a skull, a sight Anna had seen before in her days stationed overseas. The leader, a tall man with a shaved head and a crooked grin, scanned the room like he owned it. The diner's patrons fell silent, their eyes dropping to their plates. It was clear these bikers had a reputation, and not a good one. Anna stayed calm, taking another sip of her coffee. She knew trouble when she saw it, but she also knew better than to invite it. Still, the tension in the room was palpable, and her instincts buzzed like a live wire. The leader, Cage, sauntered up to the counter, his eyes landing on Anna. "Hey there, sweetheart," he drawled, his grin widening. "You're sitting in my spot." Anna didn't even glance up. "Didn't see your name on it," she replied evenly, her tone devoid of emotion. The grin faltered, replaced by a flicker of annoyance. "You've got a sharp tongue. I like that." "I'm not looking for compliments," Anna said, setting her mug down. She looked up at him then, her gaze steady and unyielding. "Just coffee." The other bikers chuckled, but Cage's amusement was gone. He leaned closer, his voice dropping. "You don't know who you're messing with, lady." Anna sighed, setting her mug aside and turning to face him fully. Her calm demeanor didn't change, but her posture shifted ever so slightly, subtle to an untrained eye, but a clear signal to anyone who knew how to read it. "And you don't know who you're talking to," she said softly. The tension thickened as Cage's grin returned, this time laced with menace. He reached out as if to grab her arm, but in a blur of motion, Anna moved. Her hand shot out, locking onto his wrist and twisting it sharply. Cage yelped as he stumbled forward, his face slamming against the counter. The entire diner froze. One of the bikers started to move, but Anna's icy glare stopped him in his tracks. "Sit down," she said, her voice low but commanding. Cage struggled against her grip, but she didn't budge. "Who the hell are you?" he growled, his voice muffled against the counter. Anna leaned in closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "Someone you don't want to mess with. Now, I suggest you and your friends finish whatever business you came here for and leave." With a final twist, she released him, and he staggered back, clutching his wrist. His eyes burned with humiliation and rage, but he didn't make another move. He gestured for his crew to follow him, muttering curses under his breath as they filed out. As the door slammed shut, the diner slowly came back to life. The waitress behind the counter let out a shaky breath. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice tinged with awe. "Just someone passing through," Anna said, tossing a few bills on the counter. She glanced at the door, her jaw tightening. She had a feeling this wouldn't be the last time she'd see Cage and his crew. As she stepped into the night, the cool air brushing against her face, Anna couldn't shake the sense that she just painted a target on her back, but she didn't regret it. Some things were worth standing up for, and if Cage thought he could intimidate her, he was about to learn just how wrong he was. Anna Harper's boots crunched against the gravel road as she walked home under the pale glow of the streetlights. The night air was cool, laced with the faint scent of pine and distant rain. Her mind replayed the encounter at the diner, her fingers flexing instinctively as if still feeling the weight of Cage's wrist. She had always been good at reading people, and Cage's reaction told her everything she needed to know. He wasn't the type to let a public humiliation slide as she turned onto the quiet street leading to her small rented house. She felt the unmistakable prickle of being watched. Her years in the Navy SEALs had honed her senses to razor-sharp precision. She kept her pace steady, her expression calm, but her eyes flicked subtly to the shadows. Nothing moved. Still, she didn't relax. She adjusted the strap of her bag, her fingers brushing the knife hidden inside. Just a precaution, she told herself, though deep down, she knew it was more than that. Anna's house was modest but comfortable, tucked at the edge of town with a view of the forest. She locked the door behind her and set her bag on the table, her movements automatic. The quiet hum of the refrigerator was the only sound as she stood in the middle of the kitchen, her eyes scanning the room. She hated how easily the past crept up on her in moments like this. The ghosts of old missions, the faces of fallen comrades, they lurked in the corners of her mind, waiting for the silence to invite them in. She shook her head, forcing herself to focus. Her phone buzzed on the counter, pulling her from her thoughts. It was a message from an old friend, Claire, the only person from her SEAL days who still kept in touch. Claire, how's civilian life treating you? Any excitement yet? Anna smirked at the irony as she typed back, Anna, quiet as ever. You know me. Claire's reply came quickly, Claire, stay out of trouble. You're terrible at it. Anna chuckled softly, but the words lingered. Trouble seemed to follow her, no matter how hard she tried to leave it behind. The next morning, Anna woke early, the soft light of dawn filtering through the curtains. She slipped into her running gear and laced up her sneakers, craving the clarity that only a long run could provide. The town was still asleep as she jogged down the quiet streets, the rhythmic sound of her steps grounding her as she reached the edge of the forest. A familiar rumble caught her attention, the growl of motorcycle engines. She slowed, her eyes narrowing as she saw a group of bikers gathered at the far end of the parking lot near the trailhead. Even from a distance, she recognized the emblem on their jackets, Cage's Crew. Anna kept running, pretending not to notice them, but her senses remained on high alert. The bikers didn't move, their eyes tracking her like wolves watching prey. She felt their stares burning into her back as she disappeared into the trees deep in the forest. Anna let herself relax slightly. The sounds of the city faded, replaced by the rustle of leaves and the chirping of birds. She stopped by a small clearing, catching her breath as she scanned the area. No sign of pursuit. She crouched by a stream, splashing cool water on her face. As she stood, the quiet snap of a twig made her freeze. Her muscles tensed, her hand instinctively reaching for the knife she had strapped to her thigh. Easy, a voice said from behind her. Anna turned slowly, her expression unreadable. Standing a few feet away was a young man, barely out of his teens, wearing the same biker jacket she'd seen at the parking lot. His face was pale, and he looked more nervous than threatening. What do you want? Anna asked, her tone calm but firm. The young man raised his hands in a placating gesture. I'm not here to fight, okay? I need to talk. Anna's eyes narrowed. About what? Cage, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. He's planning something. I thought you should know. Anna didn't lower her guard. Why would you tell me that? The young man hesitated, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting someone to appear. Because I don't want to be part of it anymore. He's dangerous, and if you're in his sights, you need to be careful. Anna studied him, her mind racing. It could be a trap, but the fear in his eyes seemed genuine. What's your name? Lucas, he said. Look, I don't have much time. Cage is mad about what happened at the diner. He's not going to let it go. He said you need to learn respect. Anna's jaw tightened. And what's his plan? Lucas shook his head. I don't know everything, but he's got people watching you. He said he wants to make an example out of you. Anna's gaze sharpened. Why are you telling me this? Because he's crossed a line, Lucas said, his voice trembling. He's not just about the bikes anymore. He's involved in some serious stuff. Guns? Drugs. And he's got connections way bigger than this town. If you push him too far, he'll come after you with everything he's got. Anna took a step closer, her voice dropping. And what about you? If he finds out you talk to me, you're as good as dead. Lucas swallowed hard. I know. That's why I'm leaving. Tonight. Anna's expression softened slightly. Then go, and don't look back. Lucas nodded, relief flashing across his face. Good luck, he said before disappearing into the trees as Anna jogged back toward town. Her mind churned with questions. Who exactly was Cage connected to? How deep did his operations run? And most importantly, how far was he willing to go to make her pay? One thing was certain. If Cage wanted a fight, he was about to get one, but it wouldn't be on his terms. The morning air was heavy as Anna Harper walked back into town, her mind racing with Lucas's warning. Cage wasn't just a petty gang leader. He was tied to something larger, something darker. And now she was squarely in his crosshairs. Anna's instincts told her to pack up and leave, to disappear before the situation escalated. It was the logical choice. But as she passed through the quiet streets, catching glimpses of the townspeople she had come to know, she felt a nagging sense of responsibility. This town had become her home, a fragile place of solace. Running now felt like abandoning it to the wolves back at her house. Anna stood in the middle of her small living room, her hands resting on the table as she studied a map of the town and surrounding areas. Her military training kicked in, her mind dissecting potential entry points, surveillance spots, and vulnerabilities. She grabbed a notepad and began sketching out a plan. First, she needed to confirm what Lucas had said. If Cage's network was as extensive as the young man implied, there would be signs, places where illegal activity left traces, drugs, weapons, and people didn't move in silence by mid-afternoon. Anna was ready to gather intel. She changed into simple black clothing, practical and unobtrusive, before heading toward the industrial district on the outskirts of town. The area was a maze of warehouses, many abandoned, making it an ideal spot for Cage's operations. She kept her movements deliberate but inconspicuous, blending into the shadows as she surveyed the area. Her sharp eyes caught the telltale signs of activity: fresh tire tracks in the dirt, a faint hum of conversation from inside one of the buildings, and the occasional figure moving between warehouses. As Anna crept closer, she overheard fragments of a conversation. She really pissed Cage off, one man said, his voice rough and laced with amusement. Said he wants her gone by the end of the week. Yeah, well, she's not just anyone, another replied. Did you see what she did to Carter? Took him down like he was a kid. Anna's jaw tightened. They were talking about her. She stayed low, listening intently. Cage isn't worried, the first man said. He's got backup coming in, big guns. Said he wants to send a message. Big guns? The second man asked, his tone nervous. You mean from the city? Yeah, the boss has connections. Anna didn't need to hear more. Whoever Cage's backup was, it wasn't local, and that made them more dangerous. She slipped away before the men could notice her, retreating into the shadows. That night, Anna returned to her house, her thoughts sharp and focused. She needed more information about Cage's big guns and how they connected to his operations, but she couldn't do it alone. Lucas had said he was leaving town, but she couldn't shake the feeling that he might still be around. She grabbed her phone and dialed the number he had scribbled on a napkin before their parting. It rang twice before he picked up. Hello? Lucas's voice was wary. It's Anna, she said. I need your help. Lucas hesitated. I told you, I'm done with Cage. I'm getting out. I know, Anna replied. But if Cage's backup gets here, it won't just be me in danger. This whole town is at risk. If you know anything else, anything at all, I need to know. There was a long pause, and Anna could almost hear the battle playing out in his mind. Finally, he sighed. There's a warehouse by the docks, he said. That's where they store the shipments. Guns, drugs, everything. If Cage's people from the city are coming, they'll use it as a staging ground. Thank you, Anna said, her voice firm. Stay safe. Lucas. The docks were deserted when Anna arrived, the faint sound of waves lapping against the shore breaking the silence. She moved quickly and silently, her eyes scanning for any sign of activity. The warehouse Lucas had mentioned loomed ahead, its rusted metal walls reflecting the moonlight. Anna circled the building, finding a side entrance partially obscured by stacks of shipping containers. She picked the lock with practiced ease, slipping inside without a sound. The interior was dimly lit, the air thick with the smell of oil and salt. Crates were stacked high, some marked with innocuous labels, others with cryptic symbols. She moved toward one of the crates, prying it open with a crowbar she found nearby. Inside, her suspicions were confirmed: assault rifles, neatly packed and ready for transport. Her stomach turned. This wasn't just about intimidation anymore. Cage's operation was fueling something much larger. The faint sound of footsteps made her freeze. Anna slipped into the shadows, her body tense as two men entered the warehouse, their voices low. "This shipment's the last one for the week," one of them said. "Boss wants everything prepped before the new guys show up." "What's with the new guys?" the other asked. "Thought Cage liked keeping things local." "Not this time," the first man replied. "He's calling in a favor. Said he needs muscle to deal with a special problem." Anna's heart pounded. Cage was escalating faster than she'd anticipated. She needed to move, but not before getting proof. She pulled out her phone, snapping photos of the weapons and the men as they worked. The evidence would be crucial if she wanted to bring Cage's operation down back at her house. Anna uploaded the photos to a secure drive and began piecing together the connections. The weapons were military grade, likely stolen from black market dealers. Whoever Cage's backup was, they weren't amateurs. Anna stared at the screen, her jaw tight. She wasn't just dealing with a petty criminal. Cage was part of something far more dangerous, and his network was a threat to more than just her. If he wanted a fight, she was ready. But this time, she wouldn't just fight for herself. She'd fight for the town, and for the chance to finally lay her past to rest the next morning. Anna Harper woke early, her body rested but her mind restless. The photos from the warehouse and the snippets of conversation she'd overheard played on a loop in her head. Cage wasn't just trying to prove a point, he was preparing for war. The weapons, the shipments, the big guns from the city, it all pointed to something larger, something Anna couldn't ignore. She poured herself a cup of coffee, staring out the window as the sun climbed over the horizon. The town was quiet, its peaceful facade masking the storm brewing beneath. Anna knew she had to act before Cage's backup arrived. If she waited, the fight would escalate beyond her control by mid-morning. Anna had formulated a plan. She couldn't take down Cage's operation alone. She needed allies. The first name that came to mind was Sheriff Cole Barrett, a man she'd crossed paths with a few times during her stay in town. He was fair, but cautious, and he had a reputation for standing his ground when it mattered. Anna made her way to the sheriff's office, her steps purposeful. The building was small and unassuming, a relic of the town's simpler days. Inside, Cole was seated at his desk, his hat tilted back as he reviewed paperwork. He looked up as she entered, his brow furrowing. "Miss Harper," he said, setting down his pen. "What brings you here?" "We need to talk," Anna replied, closing the door behind her. "It's about Cage." Cole sighed, leaning back in his chair. "What about him?" "He's running more than a biker gang," Anna said, her tone firm. "I've seen his operation. Weapons, drugs, shipments moving through the docks. And he's calling in reinforcements, people from the city. If we don't stop him now, this town is going to be caught in the crossfire." Cole studied her, his expression unreadable. "That's a hell of an accusation. You got proof?" Anna pulled out her phone, scrolling to the photos she'd taken at the warehouse. She set the device on his desk, watching as his eyes narrowed. "These are from last night," she said. "Military-grade weapons. His men are moving them through the docks." Cole exhaled sharply, his jaw tightening. "Damn it, I knew he was trouble. But this..." He looked up at her. "Why are you telling me this? What's your stake in all this?" Anna hesitated, then said, "Let's just say I've dealt with men like Cage before. I know what they're capable of, and I'm not going to sit back and let it happen again." Cole nodded slowly. "All right, I'll look into it. But if you're right, this is bigger than me. I'll need backup, state or federal." "There's no time for that," Anna said. "Cage's reinforcements could arrive any day. We have to act now." "And what do you propose we do?" Cole asked, crossing his arms. "Hit the docks," Anna replied. "Seize the shipment. Disrupt his supply chain. Without those weapons, he'll lose his leverage." Cole rubbed his temples. clearly weighing the risks. Finally, he nodded. Fine, but if we do this, we do it by the book. No vigilante nonsense. Deal, Anna said, though she knew her version of by the book might differ from his that evening. Anna prepared for the raid. She loaded her gear carefully, her movements deliberate. She hadn't felt this alive in months, her senses sharp, her focus unyielding. This was what she'd been trained for, and she intended to see it through as she strapped on her boots. Her phone buzzed with a message from Lucas. Be careful. Cage has men watching the docks tonight, Anna replied quickly. Anna, thanks. Stay safe, she couldn't afford distractions. But Lucas's warning reinforced her resolve. The docks would be heavily guarded, and any misstep could turn the operation into a bloodbath at midnight. Anna met Cole and his deputies near the docks. The tension was palpable as they huddled behind an unmarked van, reviewing the plan. Cole had brought 6 men, enough to make an impact but not enough to draw attention. You sure about this? Cole asked. Glancing at Anna, she nodded. It's now or never. They moved in silence, splitting into teams to cover multiple entry points. Anna paired with Cole, her movements fluid and confident as they approached the warehouse. The faint sound of voices and the clinking of metal echoed through the air. Confirming that Cage's men were inside, Anna signaled for Cole to wait as she peered through a cracked window. 3 men were unloading crates, their focus on their work. She counted 2 more patrolling the perimeter, their rifles slung casually over their shoulders. We need to take out the patrols first, Anna whispered. Quietly. Cole hesitated, then nodded. All right, let's move. Anna's training took over as she slipped through the shadows, her steps soundless. She approached the first guard from behind, her movements quick and precise. In a matter of seconds, he was disarmed and unconscious, his body hidden behind a stack of crates. Cole handled the second guard, though with less finesse. The man let out a muffled grunt as Cole subdued him, but the noise went unnoticed by the others inside with the perimeter secure. They regrouped at the entrance. Cole motioned for his deputies to fan out, their weapons raised as they breached the warehouse. The men inside barely had time to react. Shouts rang out as the deputies moved in, their presence overwhelming. Anna stayed close to Cole, her eyes scanning for any signs of a trap. One of Cage's men bolted toward the back exit, but Anna intercepted him, her fist connecting with his jaw in a clean, efficient strike. He crumpled to the ground, unconscious within minutes. The warehouse was secured, the crates were seized, and the men were cuffed and loaded into the deputies' vehicles. Cole stood in the middle of the chaos, his expression a mix of relief and frustration. This is going to make waves, he said, glancing at Anna. Cage isn't going to let this slide. Anna nodded, her jaw set. Good, let him come. As the team cleared the scene, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The raid had been a success, but Cage was still out there, and his reinforcements were on their way. The web was tightening, but Anna was ready to face whatever came next. This was her fight now, and she wouldn't back down. The aftermath of the raid left the town buzzing with whispers. News of the weapons seizure spread quickly, and while the sheriff's office didn't release details, everyone knew who had been targeted. Cage. His name hung in the air like a storm cloud, and the town's uneasy calm grew heavier with each passing hour. Anna Harper stood in the shadow of the diner, watching the streets from a distance. She had spent the morning avoiding questions from curious locals and dodging sideways glances from those too afraid to ask. The raid had been a success, but she knew better than to celebrate. Cage wasn't the type to stay quiet that evening. As Anna returned to her small house on the outskirts of town, the first signs of retaliation began to appear. A black motorcycle was parked near the edge of her driveway, its engine idling. The rider sat motionless, his face obscured by a dark helmet. Anna's eyes narrowed as she stepped out of her truck, her hand instinctively brushing the knife strapped to her thigh. "Can I help you?" she called out, her voice steady but cold. The rider didn't respond. Instead, he revved the engine, the roar shattering the quiet night before speeding off into the darkness. Anna watched the taillight disappear, her pulse steady but her instincts on high alert. She walked to her door, scanning her surroundings carefully. Everything seemed undisturbed, but she knew better than to let her guard down. Inside, she locked every window and door before settling into the living room, her weapon within arm's reach around midnight. Anna's phone buzzed. It was a text from Lucas. Cage knows about the raid. He's pissed. Said he's going to send a message. Anna clenched her jaw, her mind racing. She typed back quickly, Anna. Any idea what he's planning? The response came almost immediately, Lucas. No, but he's got his guys watching your place. Be careful, Anna exhaled slowly, her grip tightening on the phone. Cage wasn't just angry. He was setting her up for something bigger the next morning. Anna went straight to the sheriff's office. Sheriff Cole Barrett was already at his desk, his face lined with worry. He looked up as she entered, his expression grim. Harper, he said, what brings you here? Cage, she replied, dropping into the chair across from him. He's planning something. He knows about the raid, and he's not going to let it slide. Cole sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. We've got the town on high alert. Deputies are patrolling, and we've got an eye on his usual haunts. If he makes a move, we'll know. It's not enough, Anna said firmly. He's not just angry, he's humiliated. He's going to want revenge, and he's going to make it loud. Cole leaned forward, his voice low. What do you suggest? We can't go kicking down doors without probable cause. Anna's eyes sharpened. Then we make him come to us. That night, Anna put her plan into motion. Using Lucas's intel, she identified a few key locations where Cage's men were known to gather. If she could draw their attention, she could force Cage's hand and bring him into the open. The first stop was an old gas station on the edge of town. Anna parked her truck a few blocks away and approached on foot, her steps soundless. The gas station's dim lights cast long shadows over the cracked pavement, and the faint murmur of voices drifted from the back lot. Anna slipped around the side, her movements fluid and precise. Two men stood near a stack of crates. Their conversation interrupted as she stepped into view. Evening, she said, her voice calm but laced with authority. The men stiffened, their hands hovering near their belts. Who the hell are you? One of them demanded. Just someone with a message for Cage, Anna replied. Tell him if he wants a fight. He knows where to find me. Before they could respond, Anna turned and walked away, her every sense on high alert. She knew they wouldn't follow. They'd report back to Cage. Instead, the second stop was a mechanic's garage, another of Cage's known hangouts. Anna followed the same strategy, confronting a few of his men and delivering her message. Each time, she left before they could react, forcing them to relay her words. By the time Anna returned home, she was certain the bait had been taken. Now, it was only a matter of time. Around midnight, Anna's phone buzzed again. It was Lucas. Cage knows. He's coming for you tonight. Be ready. Anna's pulse quickened, but her resolve remained firm. She glanced around her house, ensuring every trap and contingency she'd set was in place. Then, she waited. The first sound was the low rumble of motorcycles, growing louder as they approached. Anna crouched near the window, her eyes narrowing as the headlights cut through the darkness. For bikes stopped in her driveway, their riders dismounting with practiced ease. Cage was among them, his imposing figure unmistakable. He stepped forward, his voice cutting through the night like a blade. Harper, I know you're in there. Let's talk. Anna didn't respond. She stayed hidden, her breathing slow and controlled. Cage took another step forward. You've been a thorn in my side for too long. It's time we settled this. Still, Anna stayed silent. Cage's patience snapped. He signaled to his men, and they began moving toward the house. The moment they reached the porch, Anna sprang into action. A flashbang she had rigged earlier detonated, filling the air with light and sound. The bikers staggered, disoriented, as Anna emerged from the shadows. She moved with deadly precision, her strikes swift and calculated. One by one, Cage's men fell, their weapons useless against her skill. Cage, recovering from the flashbang, watched in disbelief as his crew was dismantled. You picked the wrong fight, Anna said, her voice cold as steel. Cage lunged at her, his fists swinging wildly, but Anna sidestepped with ease. She countered with a sharp elbow to his ribs, sending him sprawling to the ground. Cage glared up at her, his breath ragged. This isn't over, he growled. Oh, it is, Anna replied, her tone final. She grabbed his collar and pulled him to his feet. "You're going to tell me everything about your operation, your suppliers, and your backup, or this night gets a lot worse for you." Cage hesitated, but the look in Anna's eyes told him she wasn't bluffing. He nodded. His bravado crumbling. Anna knew this was just the beginning, but for the first time, she felt the tide turning. Cage had made his move, and now it was her turn to strike back. The weight of Cage's collar in Anna Harper's grasp was a stark reminder of her mission. His once arrogant demeanor had given way to fear, his breaths ragged as she pinned him against the wall of her porch. The remaining bikers lay scattered around the yard, either unconscious or groaning in pain. The aftermath of Anna's precision and years of training. "Talk," Anna commanded, her voice low but razor sharp. "Who are your suppliers? Who's backing you?" Cage glared at her, defiance flickering in his bloodshot eyes. "You don't scare me." Anna's lips curled into a faint, humorless smile. "Good. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to end this, and you're going to help me." Before Cage could respond, the crunch of gravel drew Anna's attention. Sheriff Cole Barrett's SUV rolled into the driveway, its lights cutting through the night. Cole stepped out, his hand resting on his holstered weapon as he took in the scene. "Looks like you've been busy," Cole said, his tone neutral. "Cleaning up your mess." Anna replied without turning. "He's about to tell us everything." Cage scoffed, his bravado returning in Cole's presence. "You think I'm gonna rat? You've got nothing on me." Cole walked up slowly, his boots heavy against the wood of the porch. "Cage, I've got enough to lock you up for the rest of your life. Weapons charges, drug trafficking, assault. But if you want to go down as the fall guy while your partners walk free, that's on you." The mention of partners made Cage flinch, a slight but telling movement. Anna noticed immediately, her grip tightening. "Who are they?" she pressed. "The ones supplying you. You're just a middleman, aren't you?" Cage's jaw tightened, his silence speaking volumes. Cole sighed, folding his arms. "We can do this the easy way, Cage, or I can take you back to the station and let you sit in a cell while your friends decide you're a liability." Cage's bravado cracked. All right, he muttered. "But you didn't hear it from me." Anna released him, stepping back but keeping her guard up. Cage rubbed his neck, shooting her a venomous glare before speaking. "There's a guy, Marcus. He's the one bringing in the guns. Runs the whole operation out of the city. I'm just the distributor." "And the drugs?" Cole asked. "Same pipeline," Cage admitted. "They're using me to move product through these small towns. Less attention that way." Anna's mind raced. The name Marcus struck a chord, a shadow from her past missions. She'd heard it before, during a black market sting overseas. Back then, Marcus had been a ghost, a figure whispered about but never seen. If he was the one behind this network, the problem was far bigger than Cage. "Where's the next drop?" Anna demanded. Cage hesitated, but the cold steel in Anna's gaze made him relent. "There's a warehouse on the east side of the city," he said. "They're bringing in a big shipment tomorrow night. Guns, drugs, the works." After locking Cage and his crew in the sheriff's holding cells, Anna and Cole sat in the dim light of his office, going over the information. The quiet hum of the overhead fan was the only sound as they pieced together the threads of Cage's operation. "This Marcus," Cole said, leaning back in his chair. "You know him? By reputation." Anna replied. "He's been on the radar of military and federal agencies for years. Arms trafficking, drugs, human smuggling. He's the worst of the worst. If he's running this, Cage was just a cog in the machine." Cole rubbed his temples. "And now we've got a target on our backs." Anna nodded. "If we take out that shipment, we cripple his supply chain. But we'll need more than just the two of us." Cole frowned. "You're suggesting we go after him directly? If we don't, he'll regroup." Anna said firmly. "And next time, he'll come with more than a few bikers." The next morning, Anna reached out to Lucas. His intel had proven invaluable so far, and she knew she could count on him for more. They met at a quiet diner on the outskirts of town, the hum of conversation providing a comfortable anonymity. "You're lucky Cage doesn't know about you," Anna said as Lucas slid into the booth. "Not for lack of trying," Lucas replied, glancing around nervously. What's going on? Anna leaned in, her voice low. We got a lead on Marcus. There's a shipment coming in tomorrow night, guns and drugs. We're planning to hit it. Lucas's eyes widened. You're going after Marcus? That's huge. It has to be done, Anna said, but I need your help. Do you know anything else about the shipment? How many men they'll have? What's security's like? Lucas hesitated, then nodded. Marcus doesn't mess around. He'll have armed guards, probably ex-military types. The warehouse is set up like a fortress. Cameras, alarms, the works. Anna's mind churned, formulating a plan. Do you know any weak points? Lucas thought for a moment. The south entrance is the least guarded. It's near the docks, and they use it for loading. If you time it right, you could slip in during a shift change. Good, Anna said. That's what we'll do. Lucas frowned. You're not going in alone, are you? Anna smirked. Not this time. That evening, Anna briefed Cole and his deputies, outlining the plan with precision. She drew on her SEAL training, assigning roles and contingencies for every possible scenario. The team listened intently, their unease tempered by Anna's confidence as they prepared for the raid. Cole pulled Anna aside. You've done this before, he said. Not a question but a statement. More times than I'd like to admit, Anna replied. Her voice steady. Cole studied her for a moment, then nodded. Let's hope this time's the last. The following night, as the team moved into position near the warehouse, Anna felt the familiar rush of adrenaline. The moonlight glinted off the water as she crouched near the docks, her senses heightened through her earpiece. Cole's voice came through. Everyone in position? Ready. Anna confirmed. The clock ticked down. They had one shot to disrupt Marcus's operation and send a message. As the first guard made his rounds near the south entrance, Anna moved silently, her resolve unshakable. The hunt for Marcus had begun, and Anna was ready to bring him down. No matter the cost, the warehouse loomed ahead, a monolithic structure bathed in dim light. The hum of machinery and the low murmur of voices drifted into the night, blending with the distant sound of waves. Anna Harper crouched behind a stack of shipping containers, her breathing steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The team was in position, each member poised for the mission ahead. Through her earpiece, Sheriff Cole Barrett's voice crackled to life. All teams, confirm positions. South entrance secure. Anna replied softly. North perimeter covered. Came another voice, one of Cole's deputies. We're ready, Cole said. On your signal, Harper. Anna scanned the area, her eyes sharp as she counted the guards patrolling near the entrance. Lucas's intel had been accurate. The south entrance was the least guarded, but it was far from undefended. Two men stood by the door, their rifles slung casually over their shoulders. A third patrolled nearby, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. Anna moved silently, signaling to one of the deputies stationed nearby. They would have to neutralize the guards quickly and quietly if the mission was to succeed. Anna crept closer, her movements fluid and precise. She waited for the patrolling guard to turn his back, then struck her arm wrapped around his neck in a tight chokehold, cutting off his air supply before he could react. He struggled briefly before going limp, and Anna lowered him gently to the ground. She motioned to the deputy, who moved to handle the other two guards. Within moments, the entrance was clear, south entrance secured. Anna whispered into her earpiece. Copy that, Cole replied, moving in. Inside the warehouse, the air was thick with the scent of oil and metal. Crates stacked high along the walls bore cryptic markings, and forklifts hummed as workers loaded and unloaded their cargo. Anna led the team through the maze of containers, her senses on high alert. She motioned for the others to fan out, each deputy taking a designated position to cover the area from her vantage point. Anna spotted a group of armed men near the center of the warehouse. Among them was a figure she instantly recognized from the intel she'd gathered, Marcus. He was tall and broad-shouldered, his presence commanding as he directed the workers with sharp, clipped orders. Anna's grip on her weapon tightened. She had spent years hunting shadows like Marcus, men who thrived on chaos and destruction. This time, she wouldn't let him slip away. Target identified, she murmured into the earpiece. Marcus is on site. Understood, Cole replied. What's the call? Anna's mind raced. They couldn't risk a full-on firefight in such a confined space, not with the sheer number of hostiles and the volatile cargo surrounding them. They needed to create a diversion. Anna's eyes landed on a stack of barrels labeled flammable. A plan began to form. I'm setting a distraction, she said. Be ready to move when the guards are drawn away. Harper, be careful, Cole warned, but she was already moving. Anna crept toward the barrels, her steps silent as she avoided the watchful eyes of the guards. She reached the stack and quickly rigged a small charge, just enough to create an explosion without igniting the entire warehouse. As she set the timer, the faint sound of footsteps nearby made her freeze. One of Marcus's men rounded the corner, his flashlight sweeping the area. Anna pressed herself against the barrels, her heart pounding as the beam of light passed inches from her face. The guard paused, his gaze narrowing, but before he could investigate further, Anna struck. She delivered a swift, silent blow to his temple, and he crumpled to the ground. Anna exhaled softly and finished setting the charge. The timer was set for 30 seconds, enough time to retreat and regroup. She slipped back into the shadows, her heart steady as she relayed the plan to the team. Diversion is set, she said. Get ready. The explosion was controlled but deafening, the shockwave rattling the walls and filling the air with smoke and sparks. Shouts erupted from the workers and guards as they scrambled to assess the damage. Marcus barked orders, his voice cutting through the chaos. Now, Anna commanded. The team moved swiftly, taking advantage of the distraction to close in on their targets. Deputies secured the exits while Anna and Cole advanced toward Marcus. Gunfire erupted as the guards fought back, but the deputies held their ground, their training and numbers giving them the edge. Anna moved with lethal precision, her shots finding their marks as she cleared a path. Marcus spotted her through the haze, his expression twisting into a snarl. You've got guts, he shouted, his voice dripping with venom. But you've made a big mistake coming here. Anna didn't respond. She advanced steadily, her focus unshaken as she engaged the guards flanking him. Within moments, Marcus was cornered, his back to a stack of crates. It's over, Anna said, her weapon trained on him. Drop your weapon. Marcus laughed, a cold, mirthless sound. You think taking me down will stop this? You're just scratching the surface. Anna's jaw tightened. Maybe, but you won't be part of it anymore. Marcus hesitated, his eyes darting to the side. Anna followed his gaze and spotted a detonator clutched in his hand. Don't, she warned, her voice sharp. You're too late, Marcus said, pressing the button. A series of explosions ripped through the warehouse, the force throwing Anna and Cole to the ground. Flames roared to life as the volatile cargo ignited, filling the air with heat and smoke. Alarms blared, and the sound of shattering glass and collapsing metal filled Anna's ears. Marcus used the chaos to escape, disappearing into the inferno. Anna pushed herself to her feet, coughing as she scanned the burning wreckage. Cole, she shouted. I'm fine, Cole called back, emerging from the smoke. But we need to get out of here now. Anna hesitated, her eyes darting toward the direction Marcus had fled. She wanted to pursue him, to finish what she'd started. But the flames were spreading fast. She had no choice. Fall back, she commanded, motioning for the deputies to retreat. The team evacuated, their faces grim as they regrouped outside. The warehouse was engulfed in flames, the shipment destroyed. But Marcus was still out there as the first rays of dawn broke over the smoldering remains of the warehouse. Anna stood with Cole, her expression hard. They had dealt a significant blow to Marcus's operation, but the fight was far from over. He'll be back, Cole said, his voice heavy. You know that? Anna nodded, her gaze steely. And so will we. The warehouse fire still smoldered in the distance as Anna Harper stood at the edge of the docks, the morning sun casting a golden glow over the wreckage. She tightened her grip on the railing, her knuckles white. Marcus had escaped, but his network had taken a hit. The weapons were gone, his distribution hub destroyed. For the first time, he was on the defensive. Anna intended to keep him there. Sheriff Cole Barrett approached her, his face etched with fatigue and frustration. We've got the town locked down, he said. Deputies are on high alert. But Marcus has gone dark. No sightings. No chatter. Anna's jaw tightened. He won't stay quiet for long. He's regrouping, and when he does, he'll hit harder. Cole sighed, pulling his hat lower against the rising sun. What's the plan, Harper? Because we can't afford to wait for him to make the next move. Anna turned to face him, her green eyes sharp and resolute. We draw him out. By midday, Anna was deep in planning. She, Cole, and Lucas had gathered at a small, out-of-the-way diner to map out their next steps. Lucas had been instrumental in keeping them one step ahead of Marcus's network, his knowledge of the bikers' operations proving invaluable. Marcus knows his operation is compromised, Anna said, tapping a pin against the map spread across the table. But he's not the type to cut his losses. He'll want to re-establish control, and that means he'll need a safe meeting point. Cole frowned. You think he'll risk coming back here? Anna nodded. He doesn't have a choice. His network relies on local distribution. If he doesn't secure this town, his entire supply chain collapses. Lucas leaned forward, pointing to a remote area near the edge of town. There's an old salvage yard here. The bikers used it for deals back when I was with them. It's isolated, easy to secure. Anna studied the location, her mind racing. That's our spot. We'll make it look like the perfect place for Marcus to regroup. And when he does? Cole asked. We take him down. Anna replied. For good. The next few days were a blur of preparation. Anna and Cole worked tirelessly to stage the salvage yard as bait, spreading false intel through the network to lure Marcus in, with Lucas feeding information to the few remaining bikers still loyal to Cage. The trap began to take shape. Anna knew it was a gamble. Marcus was smart, cautious, but she also knew his arrogance would drive him to act. He couldn't let his network crumble without a fight on the night of the operation. The salvage yard was eerily quiet. Rusted cars and machinery cast long shadows under the pale moonlight. Anna crouched behind a stack of old tires, her earpiece crackling as Cole checked in. All teams in position. Cole said, You good, Harper? Ready, Anna replied, her voice steady. She glanced at Lucas, who was positioned nearby. Stay low, stay alert. You don't need to prove anything tonight. Lucas nodded, his expression serious. I'm here to help, not to be a hero. Anna allowed herself a small smile before turning her focus back to the task at hand. She checked her weapon one last time. Her muscles coiled and ready. The first sign of Marcus's arrival was the low rumble of engines. Anna's heart quickened as a convoy of black SUVs pulled into the salvage yard, their headlights cutting through the darkness. The vehicles stopped, and armed men poured out. Their movements swift and deliberate. Marcus emerged from the lead SUV, his presence commanding as always. He scanned the area, his sharp eyes assessing every detail. Anna held her breath, her body motionless as she watched him through her earpiece. Cole's voice came through. We've got visual. Wait for my signal. Anna nodded silently, her gaze locked on Marcus. He barked orders to his men, gesturing for them to fan out and secure the area. The bait had worked, but now came the hard part, springing the trap without letting Marcus slip away again. As Marcus's men spread out, Anna and the team moved into position. They waited until the convoy was fully engaged. Then Cole gave the signal, go. The deputies struck first, their movements swift and coordinated. Spotlights flared to life, illuminating the salvage yard and throwing Marcus's men into disarray. Gunfire erupted, the sharp cracks echoing through the night. Anna moved like a shadow, her training taking over as she neutralized one guard after another. She weaved through the chaos, her focus razor sharp. Her goal was clear. Marcus quickly realized the ambush and retreated toward the far edge of the salvage yard, flanked by two of his most trusted guards. Anna spotted him and gave chase, her heart pounding as she closed the distance. The chase led them into a narrow corridor of rusted cars and machinery. Marcus turned, his gun drawn, but Anna was faster. She ducked behind cover as bullets whizzed past, then sprang forward, disarming one of his guards with a single, precise strike. Marcus growled in frustration, firing wildly as he retreated further. Anna didn't relent. She disarmed the second guard, leaving Marcus alone. It's over, Marcus. Anna said, her voice cold. "You've got nowhere to go." Marcus sneered, his back against a towering stack of cars. "You think you've won? You don't even know who you're dealing with. Enlighten me." Anna replied, her weapon trained on him. Marcus hesitated, his eyes flicking to a hidden detonator in his hand. Anna's gaze sharpened, and she realized his intent. She lunged forward just as he pressed the button. The explosion wasn't as catastrophic as Anna had feared, but it was enough to send the stack of cars toppling. Anna rolled clear, her ears ringing as the dust settled. Marcus lay beneath the wreckage, alive but trapped. Cole and the deputies arrived moments later, securing the area and cuffing Marcus. The salvage yard was a scene of destruction, but the mission had been a success. Marcus was finally in custody as the team regrouped. Cole approached Anna, his expression a mix of relief and admiration. "We got him," he said. "You did good, Harper." Anna nodded, exhaustion beginning to set in. "It's not over yet. Marcus has allies, connections. This is just the start." Cole placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we'll be ready, together." Anna glanced at the burning wreckage, her resolve unshaken. The fight was far from over, but tonight, they had taken a step towards something better, and she wouldn't stop until it was done. The following morning, Marcus Kane sat in a small, windowless interrogation room in the town sheriff's office. His once pristine suit was torn and smudged with dirt, his face bearing the bruises of last night's ambush. Despite his predicament, his expression remained defiant, his eyes cold as they bore into Anna Harper, who stood across the table. Anna leaned against the wall, arms crossed, her piercing green eyes unwavering. Sheriff Cole Barrett sat beside her, a legal pad on the table in front of him. The room was quiet except for the faint hum of the overhead light. "Let's cut the games, Marcus," Anna began, her tone even but sharp. "Your operation is done. The weapons are gone. Your men are scattered, and you're sitting here in cuffs. The only question is whether you're going to make this easier on yourself or harder." Marcus smirked, leaning back in his chair as much as the handcuffs allowed. "You think taking me down ends this? You're more naive than I thought." Cole interjected, his voice firm. "We know about your suppliers. We know about the shipments. Tell us who you're working with, and maybe the feds will go easy on you." Marcus laughed, a deep, unsettling sound. "You think I'm scared of the feds? They don't scare me, and neither do you." Anna stepped forward, her presence commanding. She placed her hands on the table, leaning in close enough that Marcus's smirk faltered slightly. "You should be scared," she said, her voice low and dangerous, "because the people you're protecting, they don't care about you. They'll cut you loose the second you're no longer useful." Marcus's jaw tightened, the first crack in his bravado. Anna pressed on. "You think they'll come for you? Rescue you? No. They'll leave you here to rot because you're expendable, but you give us what we need, and you might live long enough to see the outside of a prison cell." The minutes ticked by in tense silence. Marcus's eyes darted between Anna and Cole, weighing his options. Finally, he sighed, his shoulders slumping slightly. "All right," he said, his voice begrudging, "but I want a deal. Protection, witness relocation. That's up to the feds." Cole said, "But the more you give us, the better your chances." Marcus hesitated, then began to speak. "The weapons, they come from a supplier in the city, a guy named Alvarez. He's ex-military, runs a private security firm as a front. The drugs are routed through a different pipeline, South American cartel connections. I'm just the middleman." Anna's expression didn't change, but internally, she was piecing together the information. Alvarez. The name was familiar. She'd come across it in a classified file years ago during her SEAL missions. He was a shadowy figure, tied to multiple arms deals and mercenary operations. If Marcus was telling the truth, they had just uncovered a major player. "Where's the next shipment?" Anna asked. Marcus hesitated. "There's a safe house in the city. That's where they keep the weapons before distribution, but it's heavily guarded. You'll never get in." Anna straightened, her mind already racing. "We'll see about that." As Marcus was taken back to his cell, Anna and Cole retreated to his office to regroup. The room was cluttered with maps and notes from their previous operations, a testament to the chaos of the last few weeks. "Alvarez," Cole said, shaking his head. That's a big name. If Marcus is connected to him, this goes way deeper than we thought. Anna nodded, pacing the room. We have a location. That's more than we had before. But Marcus is right. It won't be easy. Alvarez's operations are sophisticated. We're going to need more than just a handful of deputies to pull this off. Cole frowned. You're thinking about calling in reinforcements? Anna hesitated, then said, I have some contacts, old teammates. If they're available, they'll help. But we need to move quickly. If Alvarez gets wind of this, he'll vanish. Cole rubbed his temples. All right, make the call. I'll work on getting federal support. But you know how slow they can be. Anna nodded, pulling out her phone. As she dialed, she felt a pang of unease. Reaching out to her old team meant reopening wounds she had tried to leave behind. But there was no other choice that evening. Anna sat alone in her small house, her phone buzzing intermittently as messages came in from her former teammates. Most were willing to help, their replies brief but decisive. By the time she set her phone down, she had assembled a small but formidable team. Men and women she trusted with her life. She stared at the map spread out on her table, her mind running through the plan. The safe house was in a densely populated part of the city, surrounded by warehouses and industrial buildings. It would require precision and stealth to infiltrate without tipping off Alvarez's network. Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. Anna tensed, her hand instinctively reaching for the pistol at her side. She approached the door cautiously. Peering through the peephole, it was Lucas. Anna opened the door, her expression softening slightly. What are you doing here? Lucas stepped inside, his face pale and drawn. I heard what happened, he said. Marcus talked? He gave us a lead. Anna replied, a big one. Lucas hesitated, then said, if you're going after Alvarez, you'll need backup. I want to help. Anna studied him for a moment. This isn't your fight, Lucas. It is now, he said, his voice firm. I know how these guys operate. I've seen it up close. And if you're going in, I want to do something that matters. Anna considered his words, then nodded. All right, but you follow orders. No improvising. Lucas nodded, determination in his eyes. You've got it. The next morning, Anna briefed her team, both her old teammates and Lucas, on the operation. The plan was meticulous, drawing on every ounce of Anna's military training. They would hit Alvarez's safe house swiftly and decisively, disrupting his operation and securing the evidence they needed to dismantle his network as the team prepared. Anna felt a renewed sense of purpose. The fight was far from over, but for the first time, she felt like they were taking the battle to the heart of the beast, and this time, she wouldn't let anyone slip away. The city sprawled before them, a maze of concrete and steel. Anna Harper sat in the passenger seat of the unmarked van, her eyes scanning the horizon as the team approached their target. The safe house, a nondescript warehouse nestled among other industrial buildings, blended seamlessly into its surroundings. To anyone else, it looked like an ordinary storage facility, but Anna knew better. Beside her, Sheriff Cole Barrett gripped the steering wheel, his jaw tight with focus. In the back of the van, Anna's former teammates checked their gear, their movements efficient and precise. Lucas sat quietly, his hands clenched into fists, his nerves evident, but his resolve unwavering. Anna turned to address the group. This isn't just about taking down Alvarez's operation, she said, her voice calm but commanding. This is about sending a message to him and anyone else who thinks they can use towns like ours as their playground. We move fast, we move clean, and we don't leave any loose ends. The team nodded, their determination palpable. The safe house was surrounded by a tall chain-link fence topped with razor wire. 2 guards patrolled the perimeter, their rifles slung casually over their shoulders. From their vantage point, Anna and her team could see faint movement through the warehouse windows. Shadows of more guards inside. Anna studied the scene through binoculars, her mind racing. We've got at least 6 hostiles on the ground floor, she said. Perimeter is light, but the building itself will be tight. They'll have cameras, maybe tripwires. Her second in command, a lean, sharp-eyed man named Davis, nodded. What's the play? Anna pointed to a blind spot near the rear of the building. We breach here, Take out the cameras first, then split into two teams. Team 1 handles the ground floor. Team 2 clears the upper levels and secures the servers. Cole chimed in. And Alvarez? Anna's gaze hardened. He's mine. As night fell, the team moved into position. Davis and Lucas handled the perimeter, neutralizing the guards with silent efficiency. Within minutes, the fence was cut, and the team slipped inside. Their movements soundless. Anna led the way, her steps deliberate as she approached the rear entrance. She disabled the first camera with a quick twist of her pliers, then signaled for the team to follow. The door creaked open, revealing a narrow corridor lined with crates and equipment. Split up, Anna whispered. Stay sharp. The first shots rang out moments after they entered. A guard spotted Davis and raised the alarm, his shout echoing through the warehouse. Chaos erupted as more guards appeared, their weapons drawn. Anna ducked behind a crate as bullets ricocheted off the metal walls. Her heart pounding. Team 1, engage, she commanded, her voice steady despite the cacophony. Team 2, move to the upper levels. The team responded with precision. Davis and Cole returned fire, their shots taking down two guards in quick succession. Lucas stuck close to Anna, his movements careful but determined as he provided cover. Anna advanced through the chaos, her training kicking in. She cleared each corner with swift, practiced motions, her focus unyielding. As she reached the center of the warehouse, she spotted Alvarez, tall, broad-shouldered, and flanked by two heavily armed guards. Alvarez, Anna shouted, her voice cutting through the noise. It's over. Drop your weapon. Alvarez turned, his expression calm despite the firefight raging around him. Harper, he said, his voice deep and smooth. I was wondering when you'd show up. The next moments were a blur. Alvarez signaled to his guards, who opened fire, forcing Anna to dive behind a crate. She returned fire, her shots precise but unable to land a hit as Alvarez retreated toward a staircase. Davis, cover me, Anna shouted, darting after Alvarez. Davis provided suppressing fire as Anna pursued Alvarez up the stairs. The sound of gunfire below faded as she ascended, her breath coming in steady bursts. She reached the upper level to find Alvarez waiting, a pistol in his hand and a faint smirk on his face. You've got guts, Alvarez said, his tone almost amused. But you're out of your depth. Anna raised her weapon, her eyes locked on his. We'll see about that. Alvarez fired first, the bullet narrowly missing Anna as she ducked and rolled to the side. She returned fire, her shot grazing his shoulder and forcing him to stagger back. He snarled, clutching the wound as he retreated further into the upper level. Anna followed, her steps silent as she tracked him through the maze of offices and storage rooms. She caught a glimpse of him slipping into a server room at the far end of the corridor. End of the line, Anna muttered, pushing forward inside the server room. Alvarez was cornered. He held his pistol steady, his other hand hovering over a keyboard. The monitors displayed streams of data, evidence of his operations, his connections, his crimes. This is impressive work, Alvarez said, nodding to the screens. Too bad you won't live to use it. Anna didn't flinch, step away from the keyboard. Now, Alvarez hesitated, then smiled. You really think you've won? This network is bigger than me. You shut this down, and another will take its place. Maybe, Anna said, her voice cold, but it won't be you. Before Alvarez could respond, Anna fired, hitting his hand and sending the pistol clattering to the floor. Alvarez shouted in pain, clutching his wrist as Anna advanced. Game over, she said, cuffing him with practiced efficiency. The aftermath was swift and decisive. The team secured the servers, collecting the evidence needed to dismantle Alvarez's operation. The guards who survived were taken into custody, and Alvarez was escorted out of the warehouse, his confidence replaced by a simmering rage as the first light of dawn broke over the city. Anna stood with Cole and Davis outside the warehouse, their faces lined with exhaustion but satisfaction. We did it, Cole said, his voice heavy. It's over. Anna nodded, though a part of her knew the fight wasn't truly finished. Alvarez's network was vast, and while this was a major victory, there were still pieces left to be dealt with. For now, though she allowed herself a moment of quiet triumph. They had struck a blow against the darkness, and that was enough. The sun had fully risen by the time the convoy reached the sheriff's office. Alvarez was locked in the back of one of the SUVs, his hands cuffed behind him and his face a mask of cold fury. Anna Harper rode in the front passenger seat, her gaze fixed on the road ahead. She didn't trust Alvarez's silence. He was the kind of man who thrived on manipulation and control. Even in custody, he was dangerous. The evidence gathered from the safe house was enough to dismantle a significant part of his operation. Records of transactions, shipping manifests, encrypted communications. But Anna knew this was just the surface. Alvarez's network was sprawling, and for every connection they severed, another could emerge. As they pulled into the sheriff's office lot, Sheriff Cole Barrett met them outside, his face etched with determination. "Get him inside," he ordered the deputies. "Keep him under constant watch." Anna climbed out of the vehicle and followed as Alvarez was led into the holding area. She leaned against the wall as Cole and a deputy locked him in a reinforced cell. Alvarez smirked as the heavy door clanged shut. "You think this changes anything?" he said, his voice smooth and mocking. "You've won a battle, Harper, but the war? That's far from over." Anna crossed her arms, her gaze icy. "You should worry about what happens next, Alvarez, because you're going to tell us everything." In the interrogation room, Anna, Cole, and Davis sat across from Alvarez. He remained calm, leaning back in his chair as if this were a casual conversation. His silence was infuriating, but Anna refused to let it shake her. "You're finished," Anna said, placing a folder of evidence on the table. "We have enough to keep you locked up for the rest of your life. The weapons, the drugs, the cartel connections, it's all here." Alvarez smiled faintly. "If you had everything you needed, we wouldn't be having this conversation." Anna leaned forward, her voice low and dangerous. "We want the rest of your network, the suppliers, the routes, the buyers. You give us that, and maybe, just maybe, you'll get a deal." Alvarez chuckled. "You think I'm going to betray the people I work with? You're more naive than I thought." Cole interjected, his tone firm. "You don't have a choice. The feds are already on their way. Once they're involved, you'll lose whatever leverage you think you have." Alvarez's smile faltered, a flicker of doubt crossing his face, but he quickly recovered, his eyes narrowing. "You don't understand the people I work with. If I talk, I'm as good as dead." Anna's voice turned steely. "If you don't talk, you're already dead. Your network will cut ties with you, erase every trace of your existence. You'll rot in here while they move on." The room fell silent as Alvarez stared at her, weighing his options. Finally, he exhaled sharply. "All right, I'll give you something, but I want protection." Cole exchanged a glance with Anna, then nodded. "Depends on what you've got." Over the next hour, Alvarez revealed the structure of his network. He named suppliers, drop points, and key players, each name a thread leading to the larger web. He described how the weapons were funneled through private security firms, hidden in legitimate shipments, and how the drugs were moved using cartel-controlled trucking companies. One name stood out: Victor Cortez, a high-ranking cartel operative who oversaw the distribution routes in the region. According to Alvarez, Cortez was ruthless and well-connected, with ties to corrupt officials and other criminal enterprises. "Cortez is the one you want," Alvarez said. "Take him down, and you cripple the entire operation." Anna's mind raced as she absorbed the information. Cortez was a bigger fish than she'd anticipated, but taking him down could be the key to dismantling the entire network. After the interrogation, Anna and Cole regrouped in his office. The weight of the operation was starting to sink in. "This is bigger than I thought," Cole admitted, leaning back in his chair. "Cortez isn't just some thug. He's untouchable in most places. Not here," Anna said firmly. "We have an advantage. Alvarez gave us enough intel to hit Cortez where it hurts. If we move quickly, we can catch him off guard." Cole frowned. "This isn't just about speed. We'll need the feds for this. Cortez has resources we can't match." Anna hesitated. She knew Cole was right, but federal involvement came with its own challenges: bureaucracy, delays, and the risk of leaks. "We bring in the feds," she said. "But we keep this quiet. The fewer people who know, the better." Cole nodded, his expression grim. "I'll make the call." That evening, Anna met with her team to plan the next steps. Davis, Lucas, and the other former operatives were eager but cautious. The stakes had never been higher. "Cortez is our next target," Anna said, pointing to a map spread out on the table. "According to Alvarez, he's overseeing a major shipment in 3 days. It's happening at a remote airstrip just outside the city. That's where we hit him." Davis raised an eyebrow. "An airstrip means planes, and planes mean quick exits. If Cortez gets a whiff of us, he'll be gone before we can blink." Anna nodded. "That's why we split into 2 teams. Team 1 disables the aircraft and secures the perimeter. Team 2 takes the airstrip and apprehends Cortez. We'll use Alvarez's intel to get close enough without raising suspicion." Lucas spoke up, his voice steady. "What about his men? Cortez will have heavy security. We expect resistance." Anna said, "But if we move fast, we can take them by surprise." The room was silent as the team absorbed the plan. Finally, Davis broke the tension. "It's risky, but it's our best shot." Anna met his gaze. "It's not just a shot. It's the only way to end this." As the team dispersed to prepare, Anna stepped outside, the cool night air washing over her. She stared up at the stars, her mind replaying the events that had led them here. Marcus, Alvarez, Cortez, they were all pieces of a larger puzzle. One she was determined to solve. Lucas joined her, his hands stuffed in his jacket pockets. "You think we can do this?" he asked quietly. Anna turned to him, her expression resolute. "We don't have a choice." Lucas nodded, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "You're one hell of a leader, Harper." Anna's gaze softened. "And you've come a long way. Lucas, you've got this." As the night deepened, Anna steeled herself for the battle ahead. Cortez wouldn't go down easily, but she was ready to face whatever came next. This wasn't just about justice anymore. It was about protecting the people and places that mattered, and she wouldn't stop until the fight was won. The airstrip sat in a remote stretch of land outside the city, surrounded by dense woods and abandoned farmland. Under the cover of darkness, Anna, Harper, and her team moved silently through the tree lane, their black gear blending into the shadows. The air was crisp, and the faint hum of generators from the airstrip carried on the breeze through her binoculars. Anna surveyed the scene. Floodlights illuminated a large cargo plane parked on the tarmac, its engines idling. Around it, armed guards patrolled in pairs, their rifles glinting under the lights. Crates marked with cartel insignias were being loaded onto the plane, the workers moving with urgency. "Cortez is here," Anna murmured into her earpiece. She had spotted him standing near the plane, flanked by 2 bodyguards. His tailored suit and cold demeanor made him easy to identify. "This is our chance." From his position near her, Davis spoke. "We count at least 15 hostiles on the ground, more inside the hangar. Team 1, move to the aircraft," Anna ordered. "Disable it quietly. Team 2, prepare to secure the perimeter." Sheriff Cole Barrett's voice crackled over the comms. "Got it. We'll cover the exits. Make it clean, Harper." Anna took a deep breath, her senses heightened. This was the culmination of everything they had worked for. There was no room for error. Team 1, led by Davis, crept toward the plane. The team carried silencers, wire cutters, and small charges designed to incapacitate the aircraft without causing an explosion. Davis signaled to his group, and they split off, taking positions around the plane. Anna and Team 2 moved closer to the main building, using the crates and machinery as cover. She gestured for Lucas to stay behind her, his hands steady despite the tension radiating from him. 2 guards approached their position, their conversation muffled. Anna held up a hand, signaling for silence. As the guards passed, she and Lucas struck simultaneously, subduing them without a sound. Lucas glanced at her, a flicker of pride in his eyes. But Anna's focus remained unbroken. "Keep moving," she whispered as Davis's team disabled the plane. The guards patrolling the perimeter grew suspicious. One of them radioed for a status check, his tone sharp. When no response came, the tension escalated. Shouts erupted as the guards converged on the tarmac. Their movements hurried. Team 2, engage, Anna commanded. Breaking from cover, gunfire erupted, the sharp cracks cutting through the night. Anna and her team moved with precision, taking out the guards with swift, coordinated shots. The cartel's forces were well armed but disorganized, their panic evident as they realized they were under attack. Cortez barked orders from near the plane, his voice booming over the chaos. Secure the crates. Hold the perimeter. Anna's heart pounded as she pushed forward, her every step calculated. She spotted Cortez retreating toward a black SUV parked at the edge of the airstrip. "Cortez is making a run for it," she shouted. "I'm on it," Davis replied. Breaking off to intercept Anna pursued Cortez, her boots pounding against the pavement. His bodyguards fired at her, but she ducked and weaved, her reflexes honed by years of training. She returned fire, her shots precise. One bodyguard fell, and the other retreated toward the SUV. Cortez climbed into the vehicle, shouting for the driver to move. The SUV roared to life, its tires screeching as it sped toward the exit. Anna didn't hesitate. She jumped into a nearby truck the cartel had been using and gave chase. "Cole, block the airstrip," she ordered over the comms. "We're on it." Cole's voice replied. The truck's engine growled as Anna pushed it to its limits, the SUV weaving erratically in an attempt to lose her. She gripped the wheel tightly, her eyes locked on Cortez ahead. Cole's team set up a roadblock, their vehicles forming an impenetrable barrier. The SUV skidded to a halt, and Cortez and his remaining bodyguard jumped out, weapons drawn. Anna stopped her truck a few yards away, stepping out with her gun raised. "It's over, Cortez," she shouted, her voice echoing across the airstrip. Cortez sneered, his eyes cold and calculating. "You think this changes anything? You have no idea who you're dealing with." "I know enough," Anna said, advancing slowly. "Drop the weapon." The bodyguard raised his rifle, but before he could fire, Davis appeared from the shadows, taking him down with a clean shot. Cortez froze, his confidence faltering. Anna closed the distance, her weapon trained on him. Last chance. Surrender. For a moment, it seemed like he might resist, but then he dropped his gun, his hands raised in surrender. Cole and his deputies moved in, securing him with cuffs as Anna lowered her weapon as the dust settled. The team regrouped near the tarmac. The cartel's forces were subdued, the plane incapacitated, and the shipment confiscated. It was a decisive victory, but the weight of the operation hung heavy. Cole approached Anna, his face lined with exhaustion but relief. "We got him," he said. "It's done." Anna nodded, her gaze shifting to Cortez, who sat silently in the back of a deputy's vehicle. "This is just the start. We've cut the head off the snake, but the rest of the body is still out there." Lucas stepped forward, his voice steady despite the weariness in his eyes. "You think they'll come back?" Anna looked at him, her expression resolute. "They'll try, but now we're ready." As dawn broke over the airstrip, Anna stood with her team, the first rays of sunlight casting long shadows across the tarmac. They had dealt a significant blow to the cartel's operation, and for the first time, it felt like the fight was turning in their favor. But Anna knew this was more than just a victory. It was a message to those who sought to exploit and destroy, to those who thrived on fear and chaos. She had one simple statement: not here, not ever again. The first rays of dawn painted the airstrip in muted hues of gold and gray. The chaos of the night had subsided, leaving behind a landscape of smoldering debris, captured operatives, and secured contraband. Anna Harper stood in the center of it all, her mind racing as her team regrouped around her. Cortez, shackled and flanked by two deputies, sat in the back of a patrol vehicle, his cold gaze fixed on Anna. Despite his capture, he exuded an unsettling calm. He wasn't panicking or pleading. He was waiting. Sheriff Cole Barrett approached Anna, his expression grim. "Cortez isn't cracking," he said. "He's got that look, the kind that says he knows something we don't." Anna nodded, her eyes narrowing. "He's not worried because he thinks his network will keep running without him. He probably has contingency plans in place." Lucas joined them, his face pale but determined. "I've seen how these operations work. Even if we cut off the head, the body can still move. Cortez has lieutenants who'll step in. Anna frowned, her mind working through the implications. We need to act fast, interrogate him, follow the leads from the safe house, and shut down his lieutenants before they can regroup. Cole nodded. The feds are on their way to take custody of Cortez and the evidence. Until then, he's our responsibility. Inside the sheriff's office, Cortez sat in the interrogation room, his hands cuffed to the table. Anna entered with Cole, her expression calm but unyielding. She placed a folder on the table, filled with documents and photos from the operation. You've lost, Anna said, her voice even. The shipment, the weapons, the plane, it's all gone. Your men are in custody, and your network is exposed. Tell us what we need to know, and maybe you'll get a chance to bargain. Cortez smiled faintly, leaning back in his chair. You think you've won something? You've disrupted a single operation. Do you know how many more there are? How many people depend on this network? Anna's eyes sharpened. I don't care how big your network is. I care about shutting it down. Cortez's smile widened. And that's where you'll fail. Because for every piece you dismantle, another will rise in its place. You're fighting a hydra, Miss Harper. Anna leaned in, her voice dropping. Maybe, but I've made a career out of cutting off heads. Cortez's expression flickered, a hint of unease creeping into his calm demeanor. You're playing with fire, Harper, and when it burns, it won't just be you. Everyone around you, this town, your friends, they'll all feel the heat. Anna's jaw tightened, but she didn't flinch. Let me worry about that. Now, tell me about your lieutenants. Despite his bravado, Cortez eventually began to talk. He revealed the names of his key operatives, lieutenants who oversaw various aspects of the cartel's operation. These individuals were scattered across multiple regions, each responsible for specific parts of the network: smuggling routes, money laundering, and recruitment. One name stood out: Alejandro Vega, a ruthless enforcer who operated from a heavily fortified compound near the border. According to Cortez, Vega was the muscle behind the operation, ensuring compliance through fear and violence. Vega won't go down without a fight, Cortez said, his tone almost admiring. He's smarter than you think. He'll see you coming. Anna's eyes narrowed. We'll see about that. Back in the conference room, Anna gathered her team, laying out the information they had extracted from Cortez. Maps and photos were spread across the table, the scope of the operation becoming clear. Vega is the key, Anna said. Without him, the network loses its enforcer. He's not just a thug. He's the one who keeps everyone in line. If we take him out, the rest will crumble. Davis frowned, studying the map. His compound won't be easy to breach. Cortez wasn't lying. It's a fortress. Lucas spoke up, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. If Vega's expecting an attack, we need to hit him in a way he won't see coming. Something unconventional. Anna nodded. We'll use the intel from Cortez to plan our approach. Vega's compound might be fortified, but every fortress has a weakness. We just have to find it. As the team prepared, a deputy burst into the room, his face pale. Sheriff, we've got a situation. A group of armed men attacked one of our patrols on the highway. They're trying to free Cortez. Anna's heart sank. How many? 4 vehicles, the deputy replied. Heavily armed. They've taken out 2 cars already. Anna exchanged a glance with Cole. They're moving fast. They know if Cortez gets handed to the feds, he's untouchable. Cole nodded. We can't let them take him. Anna grabbed her gear, her voice sharp. Let's move. We intercept them before they reach the station. The sheriff's convoy sped down the highway, sirens blaring. Anna rode in the lead vehicle, her eyes scanning the road ahead. In the distance, the cartel's vehicles came into view, their headlights cutting through the early morning haze. Block the road, Anna ordered through the radio. Force them into a choke point. The convoy came to a screeching halt, deputies quickly setting up a makeshift barricade. As the cartel vehicles approached, Anna and her team opened fire. The sharp cracks of gunfire echoing across the highway. The firefight was intense, bullets whizzing past as Anna moved with precision, her training guiding her every move. One by one, The cartel's vehicles were disabled, their occupants either captured or killed. The remaining men surrendered, dropping their weapons as the deputies closed in as the dust settled. Anna surveyed the scene. The cartel's attempt to free Cortez had been thwarted, but the cost was high. 2 deputies were injured, their vehicles riddled with bullet holes. Cole approached Anna, his face lined with exhaustion. They're getting desperate. Anna nodded, which means we're hitting them where it hurts. But this isn't over. As the feds arrived to take Cortez into custody, Anna watched from the sidelines, her mind already on the next step. Vega was still out there, and the fight was far from finished for now. Though, they had won another battle, and Anna wasn't about to stop until the war was done. Alejandro Vega's compound stood like an imposing monolith on the horizon, hidden deep in the desert, surrounded by jagged cliffs and sparse vegetation. It was the ideal location for someone who needed to operate outside the reach of law enforcement. The structure itself was a blend of luxury and security: high concrete walls, surveillance cameras, and armed guards patrolling every inch of the perimeter from a ridge overlooking the compound. Anna Harper and her team surveyed the site. The sun had dipped below the horizon, leaving the desert bathed in shadows. Through her binoculars, Anna could see the guards moving with precision, their positions covering every potential entry point. "It's a fortress." "All right," Davis muttered, crouching beside her. Cortez wasn't exaggerating. "This place is locked down tighter than a military base." Anna nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. "Every fortress has a weakness," she said. "We just have to find it." Lucas joined them, his face tense but focused. "We've got one shot at this. If Vega gets wind of us, he'll disappear, and we'll lose our chance to cripple the network." Anna glanced at him, her expression resolute. "That's why we're going to make sure he doesn't see us coming." Back at their temporary base, Anna laid out the strategy. A hand-drawn map of the compound was spread across the table, marked with potential entry points, patrol routes, and blind spots. "Team 1 will create a diversion here," Anna said, pointing to the west side of the compound. "We'll use time charges to draw their attention. Team 2 will infiltrate through this drainage tunnel on the east side. It's narrow, but it leads directly into the compound." "What about Vega?" Davis asked. "He won't just sit around if things go south." Anna's gaze hardened. "That's why we'll hit the command center first. If we take out his communications, he'll be blind and isolated. Once we secure Vega, we clear the compound." Lucas hesitated, then spoke up. "And if we can't reach the command center?" Anna's voice was firm. "We adapt. Failure isn't an option." The night was moonless as the team moved into position. Team 1, led by Davis, set up their diversion charges while Anna, Lucas, and a small group prepared to enter through the drainage tunnel. The air was heavy with tension, every step deliberate and silent. Anna paused at the entrance to the tunnel, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. "This is it," she whispered. "Stay close and watch for traps." The tunnel was cramped and damp, the faint smell of rust and stagnant water filling the air. The team moved single file, their weapons at the ready. After what felt like an eternity, they reached the end, a grated hatch that opened into the compound's interior. Anna inspected the hatch, her fingers brushing over the lock. "Simple mechanism," she murmured, pulling out her tools. Within seconds, the lock clicked open, and the grate swung silently inward. "Let's move," Anna said, her voice barely audible inside the compound. The air was filled with the hum of machinery and faint voices. The team moved swiftly, sticking to the shadows as they navigated the maze of hallways and courtyards. Anna led the way, her every sense on high alert through her earpiece. Davis's voice crackled to life. "Diversion set. You've got 5 minutes before the fireworks start." "Understood," Anna replied. She turned to her team. "We're on the clock. Let's go." They reached the command center just as the first explosion rocked the compound. The lights flickered, and alarms blared, throwing the guards into chaos. Anna signaled for the team to breach the door, and within moments, they were inside. The room was a hub of activity, filled with monitors and communication equipment. 2 guards turned in surprise, but Anna and Lucas neutralized them before they could react. Anna moved to the control panel, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "We're in," she said, disabling the cameras and jamming the communications. They're blind. With the command center secured, the team advanced toward Vega's location. The compound was in disarray, guards scrambling to respond to the diversion. Anna used the chaos to her advantage. Leading her team through the labyrinth of corridors with precision, they found Vega in a spacious office overlooking the courtyard. He stood behind a massive desk, his expression cold and composed despite the chaos outside. "So, you've come," Vega said, his voice smooth. "I was expecting Cortez, but it seems he sent someone more capable." Anna leveled her weapon at him. "It's over, Vega. Surrender now, or this ends badly for you." Vega smirked, his hand moving toward the drawer of his desk. "Do you really think it's that simple?" Before he could draw his weapon, Anna fired, the bullet shattering the desk and forcing him to step back. Lucas moved in, covering Vega while Anna advanced. "You're done?" Anna said, her tone ice cold. "No more games." Vega raised his hand slowly, his smirk fading. "You think taking me down will stop this? You've barely scratched the surface." Anna's jaw tightened. "Then we'll keep digging." With Vega in custody, the team moved quickly to secure the compound. The remaining guards surrendered or fled, their morale shattered. By the time the sun began to rise, the compound was under complete control. Sheriff Cole Barrett arrived with reinforcements, his face a mix of exhaustion and relief. "You did it," he said, shaking his head in disbelief. "You actually did it." Anna nodded, her expression resolute. "We took out their enforcer and their stronghold. The network is crippled, but it's not over." Cole frowned. "You think they'll regroup?" "They always do," Anna said, "but we'll be ready." As the team prepared to leave, Anna stood on the ridge overlooking the compound, her thoughts heavy. Lucas joined her, his face lit by the soft glow of dawn. "We made a difference tonight," Lucas said quietly. Anna nodded, her gaze distant. "We did, but the fight isn't over." Lucas hesitated, then said, "You're not alone in this, Anna. Whatever comes next, we're with you." Anna turned to him, a faint smile breaking through her stoic facade. "I know, and that's why we'll win." As the first light of morning bathed the desert in gold, Anna felt a renewed sense of purpose. The battle against the cartel was far from finished, but for the first time, it felt like they had the upper hand. The capture of Alejandro Vega marked a turning point in the fight against the cartel. His fortified compound lay in ruins, his network in disarray. Law enforcement agencies moved quickly, following the leads uncovered in the operation to dismantle the cartel's remaining infrastructure. For Anna Harper and her team, the victory felt both hard-won and fragile. Back in town, the sheriff's office was a hive of activity. Deputies cataloged evidence from the compound while federal agents interrogated the prisoners. The weight of their work pressed down on everyone, but there was also a sense of cautious hope. They had dealt a significant blow to the cartel, but Anna knew better than to believe the fight was over. Anna stood in the conference room, her team gathered around the table. Maps, photos, and documents were scattered across the surface, remnants of their meticulous planning. Sheriff Cole Barrett entered, his face lined with exhaustion, but also a faint glimmer of pride. "Vega's already talking," Cole announced, placing a folder on the table. "The feds have confirmed multiple locations tied to the cartel. Safe houses, bank accounts, smuggling routes, it's all here." Davis leaned back in his chair, his arms crossed. "And Cortez? What's his status?" "Cortez and Vega are both in federal custody," Cole replied. "They'll be moved to a secure facility by the end of the week. The cartel's going to feel this for a long time." Lucas, seated next to Anna, frowned. "But it's not the end, is it? There's always someone else ready to take their place." Anna nodded, her expression serious. "He's right. The cartel will adapt. They'll appoint new leaders, rebuild their operations. But that's why we can't let up. We have to keep the pressure on." Cole sighed. "We've done more than anyone thought possible. Harper, you've done more. But at some point, we have to trust that this will hold." Word of the team's success spread quickly through the town. People began to emerge from the shadow of fear that had hung over them for so long. Businesses reopened, children played in the streets, and the sense of community that had been eroded by the cartel's influence slowly began to return. Anna walked through the town square one afternoon, her presence drawing nods of gratitude and whispered thanks. She was uncomfortable with the attention, but she also understood its importance. The people needed hope, and her actions had given them that at the diner. The waitress who had served Anna on her first night in town approached her with a shy smile. "On the house," she said, placing a steaming cup of coffee in front of her. "Thank you for what you've done." Anna nodded, her voice soft. "It wasn't just me." Later that evening, Anna met with Cole at the sheriff's office. The mood was quiet but resolute, the weight of the past weeks hanging heavy in the air. "We've done something incredible here," Cole said, his tone thoughtful. "But I need to ask, what's next for you, Harper?" Anna hesitated, staring at the map pinned to the wall. "There's still work to do. Vega and Cortez are just pieces of the puzzle. The cartel's network spans farther than we've reached." Cole studied her, his expression unreadable. "You've given this town a fighting chance. Don't forget that." Anna turned to him, her gaze steady. "I won't, but I can't stop now. If we don't keep fighting, everything we've done will mean nothing." Cole nodded slowly. "Then you'll have our support, whatever you need." That night, Anna sat on the porch of her small house, the desert air cool against her skin. Lucas joined her, a beer in hand. He offered her one, and she accepted with a faint smile. "We did it," Lucas said, his voice tinged with disbelief. "We took down Vega." Anna nodded, staring out at the horizon. "We did, but there's more to come." Lucas tilted his head, studying her. "You ever think about what happens after this? When the fight's over?" Anna exhaled softly, her shoulders relaxing slightly. "I used to think about that, about what peace might look like. But now, I'm not sure I'll ever stop fighting." Lucas smiled faintly. "Well, for what it's worth, I think this town owes you more than they can ever repay." Anna met his gaze, her voice quiet but firm. "I didn't do it for them to repay me. I did it because someone had to." In the days that followed, Anna worked tirelessly to ensure the stability of their victory. She coordinated with federal agents, sharing her insights and pushing for swift action on the cartel's remaining assets. Her team, though weary, remained committed, their bond strengthened by the trials they had endured together. But as the dust settled, Anna felt a growing restlessness. The fight against the cartel was far from over, and she knew her place wasn't in the quiet aftermath. It was on the front lines one evening. As the town gathered for a community meeting, Anna stood at the back of the crowd, watching as Cole addressed the people. His words were hopeful, promising a brighter future for their town. And for the first time in a long while, Anna allowed herself to believe it was possible. As the meeting ended and the crowd dispersed, Anna lingered near the edge of the square. Cole approached her, his expression thoughtful. "You've done enough, Harper," he said. "More than enough." Anna shook her head, a faint smile on her lips. "Not yet, but maybe one day." Cole extended his hand, and Anna shook it firmly. "Whatever you do next," he said, "you'll have allies here." Anna nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you, Cole, for everything." As the stars began to light the night sky, Anna stood alone in the square, her mind focused on the road ahead. The cartel was weakened, but the fight wasn't over, and as long as there was a battle to be fought, Anna Harper would be ready for now. Though, she allowed herself a moment of quiet, a fragile victory. Yes, but a victory nonetheless. The sun rose over the town, casting a warm glow on the streets that had once been shrouded in fear. The air felt lighter, the hum of life slowly returning as businesses reopened, and families ventured out with renewed hope. The cartel's shadow no longer loomed so heavily, and the people were beginning to believe in the possibility of a brighter future. Anna Harper stood on the steps of the sheriff's office, watching the morning unfold. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to breathe deeply, the weight of recent events easing, if only slightly. Sheriff Cole Barrett joined her, a steaming cup of coffee in his hand. "They're rebuilding," Cole said, nodding toward the bustling square. That's because of you. Anna shook her head. It's because they chose to fight back. I just gave them the chance. Cole smirked, always so modest. Later that day, Anna met with her team in the now familiar conference room. Maps, photographs, and dossiers were cleared away, replaced by the quiet camaraderie of people who had faced danger together and come out stronger for it. This isn't goodbye, Anna said, her voice steady as she addressed them. We've done something incredible here, but the fight isn't over. Each of you played a part in dismantling the cartel's grip on this town, and I couldn't have done it without you. Davis, ever the pragmatic one, raised an eyebrow. And what about you, Harper? What's next? Anna glanced at the map pinned to the wall, her mind already on the next challenge. There are still loose ends, safe houses, smuggling routes, people who think they can rebuild what we've torn down. I'll go where I'm needed. Lucas, sitting near the corner, spoke up. You're not doing this alone. Wherever you go, I'm in. Anna smiled faintly. It's a dangerous road. Lucas, he shrugged. So is standing still. The room filled with quiet laughter, the tension easing. Though they all knew the journey ahead would be fraught with peril, they also knew they could face it together that evening. The town gathered in the square for a community meeting. The air buzzed with a mix of celebration and solemn reflection. A makeshift stage had been set up, and Cole took the microphone, addressing the crowd. This town has faced its share of challenges, he began. We've seen dark days, and we've lost good people. But tonight, we stand here stronger, united, and ready to rebuild. The crowd erupted in applause, their voices carrying the weight of months of fear and defiance. Cole gestured for Anna to join him on stage. Reluctantly, she stepped forward, her hands tucked into the pockets of her jacket. Cole smiled. This is the woman who led the charge, who refused to let us be ruled by fear. Anna Harper gave us the courage to fight back. The crowd cheered, and Anna felt a flush of warmth and embarrassment. She took the microphone, her voice steady as she addressed the people. I didn't come here to lead a fight, she said. I came here to start over, to find some peace. But what I found was a community worth fighting for. You didn't need me to save you. You just needed someone to remind you of your strength. This victory belongs to all of you. The applause was deafening, and for a moment, Anna allowed herself to smile. These people, this town, they had found their resilience, and in doing so, they had reminded her of her own over the following weeks. Anna helped establish a community safety program, training volunteers in basic self-defense and situational awareness. She worked with Cole to ensure that the town's infrastructure remained secure, sharing her knowledge to build a foundation that could withstand future threats. Lucas took on a leadership role in the program, his transformation from uncertain ally to steadfast protector inspiring others. The town began to thrive, not just in its safety, but in its sense of unity. One day, as Anna walked through the town square, she passed a mural being painted on the side of a building. It depicted the townspeople standing together, their faces filled with determination. In the center, a figure stood tall, a silhouette unmistakably meant to represent Anna. She paused, staring at the mural with a mixture of pride and humility. A young girl nearby noticed her and tugged on her mother's sleeve. Mom, that's her, the girl whispered. Pointing at Anna, Anna smiled softly, tipping her head in acknowledgement. She didn't need statues or murals to validate what she had done, but seeing the impact of her actions reflected in the town's renewed spirit was more than enough. As the sun set on the town, Anna packed her bag, her mind turning toward the next fight. The cartel's remnants were still out there, and she couldn't rest until the job was finished. But she knew she wasn't leaving alone. Lucas, Davis, and a few others had pledged to join her, ready to take the fight wherever it led. Before she left, Anna visited the diner one last time. The waitress handed her a coffee, smiling warmly. Take care of yourself out there, Harper. Anna nodded, her voice quiet but firm. You too. Keep this town safe. As she stepped outside, Cole was waiting by her truck. You sure about this? He asked. Anna met his gaze, her expression resolute. It's who I am, Cole. But this town, it's safe now. That's what matters. Cole extended his hand, and Anna shook it firmly. "Good luck out there," he said. "You'll always have a home here." Anna climbed into her truck, her heart full of gratitude and determination. As she drove away, the lights of the town faded into the distance, replaced by the open road. The fight was far from over, but Anna Harper was ready. Her story had become a testament to the power of resilience and courage, a reminder that even in the darkest times, people could rise together and reclaim their strength. And though her journey continued, the legacy she left behind would inspire others for years to come. Join our journey of growth, inspiration, and empowerment by subscribing to our channel. Together, let's create a community that stands tall, lifts others, and makes the world a better place, one story at a time. We'd love for you to be part of our family.